Just for a day, we king and queen would visit all these islands and saw everything. How would they feel about the changes of our land? Would you just imagine if they were around and saw highways on the sacred ground? How would they feel about this smart city life? Tears would come from each other's eyes as they would start to realize that our people are in great, great danger now. Would they feel? Would their smiles be content and cry? Cry for the gods, cry for the people, cry for the land that was taken away. And then yet you'll find Hawaii.
And this is KKCR Hanalei, KAQA, Kilauea, Permanently Affordable Living Hawaii. And Permanently Affordable Living Hawaii is made possible by Kauai Mold Water Fire and Kaua Zipline.
Water Fire, a family-owned and operated business specializing in 24/7 water damage cleanup, mold remediation.
For supporting Kauai Community Radio.
The views and opinions expressed during this program are those of the speaker and do not necessarily represent those of KKCR, its board of directors, staff, volunteers, or underwriters.
Welcome. We are PAL Hawaii, Permanently Affordable Living. It's housing and so much more. This is PAL Hawaii radio show on KKCR, the fourth Monday of every month at this time, 4 to 6 p.m. I'm Paul Marshall, the engineer running the board for PAL Hawaii.
And I'm Leilani Spencer. I'm the executive director for PAL Hawaii.
I'm Jada Bayuana, the Chief Operating Officer for PAL Hawaii. This month's show is all about the coming elections. We are going to be breaking the show into two segments. In the first hour, we are interviewing Michaela Waidiner, the candidate for mayor. And in the second hour, we're going to be having a conversation with Joanne Yukumura, the former mayor and Kauai County Council member, about the roles of mayor and county council and what to look for in a candidate.
Our mission at PAL Hawaii is to provide homes and sustainable living solutions within reach, restoring hope for the people of Kauai. Our vision is to change the paradigm of affordable housing to permanently affordable living, PAL. If you need help, or you'd like us to help you, or you'd like to help us, you can call us at 808-720-1011, or you can check our website, palhawaii.org, and we're also on Facebook, Twitter, and also on Instagram.
All right, and PAL Kauai Radio is a talk show and a call-in show. If you have a question for our guests, the call-in number is 808-826-7771. Feel free to call in and participate, ask a question, or make a comment. And we do have our first guest on the phone. Aloha, Michaela. Can you hear me?
Yes, aloha kako.
Aloha, we're on the air on KKCR. And we're in the studio with Leilani and Jade and myself, Marshall.
Excellent. Do you guys mind if I actually ask you a question? Just because I
turn
posted
her up?
something about
Because I can barely hear her.
I'm so sorry.
Try
Michaela.
again, Michaela?
Yeah,
Or-
can you speak again?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That's
Okay, perfect. No, I actually wanted to just clear something up for the public because I had posted something about PAL online, and somebody had a question. They said they know about the apartment housing you have on the west side in Kaua for the houseless. But what other things do you offer the public as far as besides that?
Well, we have 2 rental apartment buildings, affordable housing, on the east side where the Hoku Foods building is, and that's Kauhale o Kapa'a. And then we have the rental building on the west side, that's Kauhale o Kekaha. And then the one that we are currently working on is in Kilauea, the first affordable housing complex actually in almost 35 years. And we've got homes that are just about ready to be on the market, to launch and all that. And you'll be hearing about all that very soon. We're getting close to that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so there is actual like housing options and coming up housing options.
Coming up,
not just for people that are houseless, but for workforce and the like.
We're trying to cover as much as we can. You know, we are small but mighty, and our thoughts and our ideas are big. So we are some who are trying to do a lot of things along with the county. So thank you for your interest in that. We appreciate that. So I just wanted to say, too, that if you're going to miss this show by any chance, that there's also, this is actually being filmed right now and recorded by Hoike, so you will be able to hear it on Hoike TV. Or also, I believe, on YouTube, right, Max? Yeah, and then it's also shown on YouTube. And unfortunately, you're just going to see our faces, and we won't see yours. Michaela, for calling in. I thank you for being agreeable to that. Honestly, the scheduling situation, that's all on me, okay? So, a calamari for that one. So, what we are wanting to do is pick your brain a little bit about your campaign, and as you know, and as I've shared with you, we've interviewed all the other 5 candidates, so we kind of keep it aligned to keep the questions similar to what they had, just to keep everything being a level playing field. So, if you're ready, let's get started.
Let's get to it.
Okay.
All right. Hi, Michaela. This is Jade. What is one thing you respect about your opponent, and one key difference between you as leaders that matter for Kauai?
I respect that all of my opponents want to serve. That is huge. You know, for anybody to step into that role and be willing to make the sacrifices and face the public backlash, and you're not ever going to make everybody happy, so there's always going to be that pressure of letting people down. And I respect all of my opponents just for wanting to serve and to take that on wholeheartedly. What makes me different is definitely the age difference and the experiences. When Citizens United passed, that was during the Obama administration. I was in college around that time. And since then, there's been a widening gap between the ultra-wealthy and the working class, to the point now where we almost don't even have a working class. So slowly but surely, I've seen how money influencing politics has taken my future and affordable living away. You know, the older generation got to buy homes and have children and have this American dream, and my generation has had to just keep chasing and chasing and chasing without any result. You know, when a lot of people my generation graduated college, the workforce was saturated and there weren't any jobs. It wasn't that we hadn't gone to college and gotten degrees, it's that there was there wasn't anything available. So we've just been struggling the whole time. So I think that I can relate better to the public and the problems that we're facing today because I've had to witness firsthand how bad policy and just not taxing the rich has basically stolen my future and the future of our children. And, you know, right now you can see that socially, if you look up the statistics, and this might sound a little dark, but this is the reality of the situation. The younger generation doesn't see a future. You know, we're living in the highest extinction rate ever on record. The water's drying up on the mainland. We're seeing less and less opportunity for a future. So that's why it's imperative that I run and that, you know, I address these issues.
So, Michaela, I want to ask you real quick if you are on a speakerphone by chance, or if there's anything you can do to increase the audio quality. But then I also wanted to just zoom out, and you were speaking to some of the things that you're passionate about right there, but to give you maybe a broader opportunity to speak to why you're running for mayor, and even maybe what would be some of your top priorities in your first year.
I'm running for mayor because, like a lot of other people on Kauai, we feel that we've kind of been sold out. The priority hasn't been on community building. It's been on development, but, you know, development that hasn't made our lives easier. And, you know, laws like, there used to be a time where people could use Airbnb, and that was a way to keep people in their homes because the renters could sublet other rooms, and, you know, tourists could come and stay. You know, if they couldn't afford to stay at the hotels, they could always Airbnb from any of the locals that are renting. Then they changed the rules on that, and a lot of people lost homes. And, you know, who are we protecting with these things? So I saw who was running, and, you know, they're career politicians. They've been doing this a long time, and the changes have not been significant enough. And if we had implemented certain things sooner, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in now, where the cost of living has just gotten out of control. You know, so I wanted to run specifically to implement circular economy, help solve the landfill crisis. I don't want to look for a new landfill. I want to help address why we're in the situation that we're in and correct it from there. So I really want to change things at the source, at the root, so to speak. So right now we're in a linear system that's not working for Kauai, and we're in a system that favors large contracts that our local contractors can't afford, meaning that we're going to outsource all of our development. And that doesn't create jobs locally. That creates jobs for the unions that are contracted by these large contractors that are usually from California.
Thank you. And listeners, we are speaking with Michaela Widener about her run for Kauai County Mayor, and Leilani.
Okay, next question. Just pertaining to democracy, civic trust, and leadership as well. In today's national and international climate, what does protecting democracy look like at the county level? And what commitments can you make around fair process, transparency, and respectful public service as mayor?
I think on the federal level, a lot of us feel like we're just so tired of political games. You know, if it's accountability is huge. So I think being accountable and being transparent just means involving the public more and not trying to hide anything. Like I was saying this morning, you know, I hardly see any town halls around here. We do have opportunity to give testimony at county council meetings, but it would be nice to be more involved in the process of bill writing and everything. Even if they have an idea about something, I'll use the Hopi'i Falls parking, for example. There's big controversy over that right now. What looks good to one person, there's a whole other side of that argument, you know. So what people are, I'll tell you what's happening. So there's a baseball field in Kapahi where people would park and then they would walk from there to Hopi'i Falls, and that kept them out of the residential area. But then there was people complaining that there was too many people parked there during baseball games. So they said, oh, you can't park here. But now that pushes people back in the residential areas. There's no set parking place for them. So maybe before they put up the signs, they should have engaged with the public and gotten ideas before they just jumped the ship and went into action about something. So I think like having public conversations where you hear both sides of the story and you can come up with a more comprehensive solution is drastically needed out here, because it seems like where there's one solution, there's a problem, and things just aren't thought all the way through. Mm-hmm. So I think involving the community as much as possible is really what we need going forward. That way you hear all the sides of the argument. And again, I know they do this for testimony, but not everybody can make it in the morning to the county council chambers at 8:30 a.m. A lot of people have to work, and some people can't always request off. You only have so many PTO days. So having town halls before it gets to that point, in case you need to adjust the bill, or before you write the bill in the first place, that way you have a more clear understanding of the impact that this is going to have. And I think all of that is a lot more necessary. So I would just say community engagement and showing the community the respect that they deserve. You know, maybe not everybody understands everything about government, but this is a great opportunity for them to participate and learn.
Mm-hmm. About the Ho'opi'i Falls that you're referring to, it kind of touches, we'll ask you a little bit later in some of our questions about the tourist impact, because it's overdone over there. And now
absolutely,
its trash is being left behind.
Tourism is definitely affecting Kauai. It's good for business, it's bad for communities, because it's also bad for our ecosystems. You know, we've seen how all the sunscreen is killing the coral reefs. They still sell the sunscreen that's banned out here. It's hard to enforce that. There's not a lot of education. And this might sound extreme, but, raising taxes in certain areas, if we need to deter luxury building, then we need to raise the taxes on that. And if we need to deter tourists from coming, then we need to raise the taxes. And, we don't have to keep it like that forever, but we do need to keep it at a high rate for a while so that we can recover, so that the island can recover. And if anything, so it gives us time to implement a better solution on how to guide the tourists in a way that is going to work with us and with our ecosystems. There's a term for that called ecotourism. So ecotourism, working directly with Hawaiians and the community, would, again, more public engagement on how to do things, because there are a lot of nonprofits out here and very intelligent and talented people that have really great ideas. And if the government did a better job of working with these people and listening and helping to implement these ideas, there are solutions. People have a plan. We just have to listen and work along with them to achieve these goals and then implement.
Okay. Thank you for your response.
Michaela Widener, candidate for Kauai County Mayor on KKCR, and we'll be right back.
Aloha. Our ocean can change quickly, sometimes from calm to dangerous in just moments. Powerful north and west swells bring strong rip currents, shifting sandbars, and heavy shore breaks. Beaches that seem calm at first glance can turn hazardous fast. Please be safe, swim at lifeguarded beaches, and use the buddy system. Check in with lifeguards for safety information before entering the water, and pay attention to posted warning signs. Even experienced ocean goers should know, Hawaii has some of the most powerful surf in the world, shaped by deep ocean bottoms and steep shorelines. Our lifeguards are here for your safety, skilled, trained, and proud to serve our community. Please ask us for advice when visiting our beaches. One conversation could save a life. This has been a deep dive into water safety on KKCR with Ocean Safety Bureau's North Lieutenant Chad Listman. Mahalo and aloha.
We are back on Permanently Affordable Living Hawaii on KKCR Honolulu KAQA Kilauea, speaking with Michaela Widener, candidate for Kauai County Mayor. And Michaela, thank you so much for being with us. Jade has a question for you.
Thank you. So we've been identifying several issues already in terms of community engagement, how to foster ecotourism. What is one hard choice you already foresee that you may have to make as mayor? And what values will guide you when you make those choices or that choice?
Definitely budget priorities. And when I'm going to be raising taxes on the ultra wealthy, we've got to make sure that whatever changes we make are going to benefit the community. And it's going to be, trying to figure out how to implement these things without making it harm people's jobs. And one of the things that I would like to see is, we can't just go about raising taxes on everything, but maybe we can alter certain things, like maybe we can change the rate of how much people are paying for water. Like we can lessen the rate that the ag community is paying, and we can increase the rate on luxury hotels. But, when it comes to what is going to be a difficult choice, I think it's going to be, infrastructure. There's going to be things I'm going to have to say no to because we need water infrastructure first. I know people want to build, and we need housing, but we can't keep building if there's no connections to water. That's just going to create a disaster like Lahaina, and I can't let that happen. So even if people want me to build, I need to make sure the water connections are there before we do any of that.
Well, equally as daunting, actually, is our septic and our trash. Those are all infrastructure and roads.
Oh, absolutely. The MRF facilities that they want to pass on Wednesday, I'm totally behind it. The only thing that worries me is that they're still trying to build a giant facility when we could create a lot more jobs and be a lot more functional with smaller facilities spread throughout the island. So again, that's like something that I'm worried about. If I have to put something like that on hold so that I can debundle it, and I need people to be able to play the long game with me. I know things need to happen right away, but it needs to be done correctly and done right the first time. And that's going to take time.
Exactly right. Okay. Marshall, you have a question next?
In terms of federal policy, a lot of times people want to know what the mayor can do on issues that broadly apply to the federal government. Do you have anything to share on what your policy would be on, say things like current controversies regarding immigration, those sorts of things?
I think that something like people moving around the planet cannot be stopped or helped, but if we have a way to help this process be done in a correct way where we're not treating human beings just straight up like criminals for no reason. When you think about it, when you think about this island, unless you're Hawaiian, we're all immigrants here. And even in North America, if you're from the mainland, unless you're Native American and you belong to one of the 67 or 327 tribes, just in the state of Oklahoma, there's 67, you're an immigrant. So, just like animals migrate, humans also migrate. And we can't treat people migrating like they're criminals for doing something that's completely natural and has been done throughout in the entirety of human history. So there has to be a way to make this process easier. And, if there is people that are illegal, we have to follow the Constitution, which means that, everybody has civil rights.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for handling that. It can be a difficult issue.
Yes, indeed, especially most recently when ice appeared, and that was a shock to everyone's system. So
I think first and foremost, as the mayor, it's my job to protect the people of Kauai. And I do think about Kauai separately. It's its own microcosm in my mind. And when the United States is here, I want to be cordial and respectful, but I want to make sure that the laws are being followed, including civil laws. The Constitution applies to citizens and people that represent the government.
Okay, and we were kind of moving on to housing, permitting, neighborhood balance. So my question is on housing. What is your plan to make housing more attainable for local families? And what would be your first move that you would make in the first year of office?
Well, I would definitely tax the ultra-wealthy. They say, it's not really necessary to create a fourth-tier tax for people with $70 million homes. Our tax tiers only go up to $2.5 million. I have a whole list here of properties that are $13.5 million and above, and this is just what's listed publicly. This isn't even what's on all the private lists.
Right.
You don't even see the $300 million compound that Mark Zuckerberg built, and he's not the only person that has a private compound out here. Mm-hmm. There's tons of $100 million homes, like $24.9 million, $19 million, $70 million, $16.250 million, $16.750, $18 million. These are not locals.
And can you flesh out a little bit how that would look, taxing for the uber rich?
Well, we would definitely create a lot more revenue for the county, and we could also deter luxury building. So when you create these tiers for ultra-luxury properties, just like with FDR and how he was taxing billionaires at 90%, it kept them from making that much money, which kept everything in balance. And that's how the middle class grew. So if we want to keep the cost of living from rising, we need to tax ultra-luxury properties the same way. We want these people to hurt so that they stop building ultra-luxury properties. And if we would have done this sooner, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in right now, because they would be avoiding having too much worth on their home. And another thing that I would like to do, that I've said this before, we need to change that law with Airbnb so that renters can sublet. And, once we implement these taxes, it is going to make it more difficult for people to come out here. It'll be harder for them to find a place to stay. So if locals can support that, that's a way to keep people in their homes. It also keeps people coming out here and spending their money. They can't afford to stay at a hotel. They can always Airbnb from a local's house. And that helps the locals. It helps them stay in their homes. It's community building. It gives those tourists a much more authentic experience. And I think that's the beauty of Kauai is we don't want to change. We don't want to become Oahu. We don't want to be a huge industrialized city. So just a simple thing like that, and I don't know why they stopped that in the first place. Again, I don't know who that law is supposed to be protecting. Why are we making a law that's making it more difficult for people to live in communities? It's the opposite of what we should be doing. So I definitely want to lobby the state for that. Right now we can't even have teachers in Honolulu. We have a lot of, everybody's understaffed in so many ways. We don't have CDL drivers. We don't have teachers. We don't have nurses. People come out here for a job. They can't find anywhere to live. They either end up living out of a tent or they have to leave. So just changing a simple law like that can go a long, long way. This is a housing crisis. So the state should take that very seriously.
Well, the point of the reducing on the Airbnb was instead to encourage long-term rentals, rather, to provide other inventory for places
maybe
to live.
It's something we can do temporarily, because as it stands right now, there's so many people that are getting kicked out of their homes. Homelessness is spiking. And the people that suffer the most from homelessness are infants. And, it's not working. They created that law to do that, but it's also keeping people from being able to live here. It would just help out a little bit until we can get things sorted and we have enough homes. We can do a temporary pause just to help keep people here until we have the infrastructure. As it stands right now, we just don't have the infrastructure. So we have to be creative about how we're going to come up with ways to give people immediate relief. And that would bring immediate relief.
Okay, thank you for responding to that question. Jade, you're next.
If you could choose one strategy to deliver the most housing impact over the next 12 to 24 months, what would it be and why? Excuse me.
Well, I think the way that I answered that last question pretty much says that. And then there's definitely been some laws that have been passed. We have the Hawaii Builds Initiative that's going to fast-track affordable housing. This was just passed recently. It's Senate Bill 2544. And that quick approves early-stage financing for builders. So something that we can copy. So what that does is it takes the county out of the decision, brings it directly to the planning director, and it cuts time from about 3 to 5 years that you would normally need for approval to 12 to 18 months. So we could copy a strategy like that for our permit office. There's so many people that are waiting on permits. So something that we can do immediately is figure out a way to fast-track permits to get these builds and these businesses open and running.
And listeners, we are speaking with Michaela Widener, candidate for mayor in the county of Kauai, and this is KKCR Honolulu, KAQA Kilauea. We'll be right back.
On Kauai's North Shore, including Honolulu and Tunnels Beach, conditions can change quickly even as we move into summer months. Lingering swells, strong wind currents, and flow from the Honolulu River can still create dangerous conditions. Before entering the water, take at least 20 minutes to watch the ocean. Pay attention to currents, river flow, shore break, and changing wave patterns. Consider both your own and your family's swimming abilities when snorkeling. Swim near lifeguards whenever possible and use the buddy system. Check in with lifeguards. They know where conditions are safest that day. Visitors, Honolulu and tunnels may look peaceful, but the ocean here can be powerful and unpredictable. Residents, please go Kaua by sharing what you know. One conversation can prevent a tragedy. This is Lemon, an ocean safety officer on the North Shore, for Deep Dive into Water Safety on KKCR. Your safety starts before you enter the water. Stay safe and aloha.
Hurricane season is from June 1st through November 30th, and this year is predicted to be a higher than average storm season. The Kauai Emergency Management Agency recommends that you prepare in advance. Disaster kits should include at least a 14-day supply of non-perishable food, 1 gallon of water per person per day, a battery-powered radio, a flashlight with extra batteries, an extra supply of prescription medicines, important documents in a waterproof...
As well, Zero Waste Kauai has brought this up a lot of times. You know, instead of demolition, deconstruction, then you're not paying as much for materials. You can repurpose those materials, and you can build homes with the repurposed materials and still do it safely.
Great, thank you for that. Do we have a caller?
No, not at the moment. But if a caller wanted to get on the air with you, Michaela, and ask you a question, would that be all right?
Absolutely. It's the only way I'm going to learn.
Okay, caller, go ahead and call back. We'll catch you this time. Here it is. Hold on a second. Go ahead and hold on. Well, do you want to go on the air with Michaela? Here we go.
A question.
Hi, go ahead, caller.
We should have 2 callers on the air. Michaela Widener, candidate for mayor, and we have a second caller with a question, I believe. Aloha, caller number 2.
Aloha, yeah, this is my name's DJ Bongo Chan. I'm a DJ at KKCR. I'm a participant and listen around the horn as well as do the Sunday night reggae show at KKCR Community Radio. Hallelujah to this station. I come from the planet of Northern California, of Mendocino County, and we are all just waiting for them to figure out the reality of the racket of the septic tank system. It is so archaically like yesteryear. The ability for everyone to treat, the system, whether it's baking it. There's so many systems out there, and we're just waiting for our county, my son, where he lives, and I live here in Kauai, and I'm just I'm waiting for people. This is we live in dinosaur era with these, like, you know, basically
We're 60 years behind, my brother. You are totally correct. 60 years behind.
Decades behind. But luckily, maybe Hawaii will, like, pass up and go, okay, we don't even need to put septic systems in, which are like, I've installed like a $100,000 septic system on a beach in north of San Francisco. I saw the whole thing. It's monitored. That's really cool. And I really think Honolulu should adhere to that if you live within striking distance of the beach. But the rest of the folk out there, it's not rocket science. It's pretty easy. But they've figured it out in California, and it's across the United States. It's a huge racket. And until our elected officials decide to go, oh, wow, you can have a composting toilet. I have the Humanure Handbook. Okay, I know how to take care of it. There's a way to do it. Not everyone's into doing that thing, but it's totally feasible to have a not archaic transition from the pits to not like forcing people to get these $70,000 pretty much draconian rules that are established by the powers of government to force people that down the gullet. And of course, this has become controversial, but the future is already there. Mm-hmm. They just want to adhere to it.
So, caller, thank you so much for that. I want to give Michaela Wadner a chance to respond.
Yes,
I couldn't really hear him. So he's in favor of composting toilets. Is that what the?
Yes, and he's done it in California. I'm going to recommend, because I want Michaela to answer other questions of ours. Caller, I highly recommend you connect at michaelaforkauai.com, because you can have a good dialogue with her, and then she'll also be appearing on other places and candidate forums as well.
If he has a Facebook, it's a lot easier to connect with me at Mayor Michaela Widener on Facebook. Then you can message me directly. I'm more than happy to communicate.
Okay.
I guess my question would boil down to, what is the solution moving forward for that?
I think definitely looking into safe ways to do that and to see what, like you said, there has to be a feasible way to do this where we're not violating health codes. So if it's been done in California, then we can definitely look at that example and see how we can implement that here. There's always going to be an example somewhere that we can look at, and then we can make that happen. And then, it's about investing in that, just like you said. We don't want to be replacing all of these septic tanks, and then 70 years later, we're doing it again. Right. We need a permanent solution.
All right. Caller, thank you so much for contributing to the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Anyway,
Aloha.
It's a very tricky topic.
Tricky indeed. Yeah.
Yes,
all righty.
Shitty.
All over the place.
Yeah. Right. All righty. Aloha.
Okay. Going right ahead. Marshall, you're up, I think, for that next question. And because of time, just kind of brief on your answers, Michaela, not to cut you short, but we want to cover as much territory as we can.
So do you want to stick on housing for a minute?
Yeah, please,
Okay.
because it's about housing.
Right on. Well, I wanted to just ask you a general kind of how to balance things, right? Because there is some need for development. We need new housing, and there's a lot of development already in the pipeline. But how do we actually balance that with maintaining neighborhood character and just protecting the way of life here on the island?
We have a caller.
Go ahead, Michaela. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, go ahead and answer, and Marshall's going to answer the phone.
You know what?
There's a lot of gap housing, and, just trying to figure out the balance of how to get more homes built and being affordable, and seeing what we have on the market today, and being able to get people in there. Now, one of the ideas that I did have was a benefit ball, and I know this isn't going to solve everything, but it is a good idea to where we can invite people to come donate to things like PAL, to Habitat for Humanity. If we can get more funding for these organizations, that's going to help us develop those houses, and that's what people really want. They don't want to be shoved into low-income workforce apartment-style tiny apartments. They want to buy a home.
And we do have another caller. I'd like to speak with you, Michaela. Here we go. Aloha, caller. You're on the air.
Aloha, Michaela. I saw you at one of the speaking opportunities at the center. Must have been a month ago. And congratulations for campaigning. It is not an easy task. I'm going to ask you if you are familiar with micro sewer systems and water treatment done on a CIP.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry. Can you guys repeat
She's
that
asking
for me
if you're familiar with the micros water treatment on the CIP.
No.
Okay.
My husband's been on
what
island.
is that?
He's a civil engineer. He took the whole city of, it was in Arizona, Lake Havasu, about the same population as Kauai. They took them all off septic and cesspool. They replaced the whole thing with micro sewer systems and water treatment, and they did it on a CIP, a community investment project. The current septic and cesspool, Milton Choi went to jail for it. The reason they're pushing it so hard is because it's so corrupt. And Milton Choi died in jail, actually, recently. And Milton Choi was a big contributor to Derek Kawakami. So if you want to figure out why they're pushing on that old technology, the reason is follow the money.
Okay.
Well, and it seems like what you're saying also, it puts the transition on the community. So if the community has to pay for the cesspool, then that's something that they don't have to pay for. So I can definitely see how. And then, like what the other guy was saying, then they profit off of that.
So caller number 2, your connection's a little weak. We're going to say thank you for contributing and let you go right now.
Of course.
Okay.
All righty. And Michaela, we're back with you.
Okay. Sorry, caller. It was breaking up. We couldn't quite hear, and we have a lot more questions. But I highly encourage you to reach out to Michaela yourself with this information on her website or her Facebook page.
And Michaela, we're back with you.
So we can jump to infrastructure now. We'll
Alrighty.
jump to that, and we'll say that is, what are your top priorities, Michaela, for the next 2 years as far as water, wastewater, roads, and drainage? And how will we pay for them in a way that's fair to the residents?
Well, like I said, taxing the ultra-wealthy was going to create more revenue for us to be able to put towards our, what is it called? Our capital improvement projects budget. Right now we have a budget about $135.6 million. Of course, with higher taxes, that's going to increase. We also, Joseph Tate has, he has a proposal for $638 million that he has presented to the state, and we won't know if that is going to pass until 2027. So then we'll see if we get greenlit for that. So there are state revolving funds. There are grants. There are rural community grants. And, again, we're going to have to reach out for donations as well. But like I said, the number one most important thing that we need to take care of before we do anything else is connect the gaps in our water systems. It's not going to make sense to continue to build if we do not have access to water. And if we're paying attention to what's happening on the mainland, the water wars is something that I talked about, my professors have talked about in college 20 years ago. So my generation has been preparing for this, running out of water. So it's more imperative now more than ever to make sure that we have access and that we own that access and that it's not sold off. You know, we need to work together with the state to get all of this stuff done, and the state needs to be helping out our county a lot. There's a lot. The state owns more land out here than we do, and so they need to be working with us on this.
Okay, thank you for that. Jade, you're next.
Yes, as we have learned from our last hurricane here on Kauai, we do know that emergency readiness is very important. What is your longer-term plan for floods, fire, storms, and power outages?
I think having a voluntary advisory committee is essential. You know, in my line of work, I talk to people every single day, and I hear all kinds of stories. And I actually had a couple that was here during Aniki, and they said if the Red Cross would have put the locals in charge, it would have been so much more organized. You know, one of the things they noticed was just how dysfunctional they were. So I think this is where having a voluntary advisory committee comes essentially. We need people that are going to be leaders from each side, from the west side to the north shore, in every town that knows everybody, that everybody's going to listen to help organize these situations. And that's essential. You know, like I said, it's the people that live here that are going through these things that know what needs to happen, when, and how. And those are the people that I need to talk to and be able to organize with and, you know, give them a specific role for whenever we're in emergencies to be able to get their communities organized. Everybody knows who they need to go to. Everybody knows what the routes are. You know, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So we need to be prepared, and we need to have these leaders in place.
Thank you. You know, I want to skip ahead just for a minute because one of the questions is about trash, and it's such an important topic, as you know. And so I wanted just to announce that on Wednesday, the 29th, 6:30 to 8:30, there's a live on Zoom time to interview the mayors. And I know, Michaela, you're aware of that, but I highly encourage everyone to sign up for that, being sponsored by Zero Waste. So, and it's also streaming on Hoike and KKCR. So that would be a really important thing. So we won't go into that because I think you'll get an opportunity to go in depth on that portion of it. So you're next with your question.
Come talk
now.
trash with us.
Yeah, we're talking trash.
We
go ahead, Marshall.
We have a quick spot to play. Listeners, we're speaking with Michaela Widener, a candidate for mayor in the county of Kauai, and we'll be right back.
Trying to keep our housing. How many of our friends are struggling? Nobody can afford to live here. Kauai Community Radio brings you the PAL Kauai Radio Show. PAL Kauai. It means permanently affordable living. It's housing and so much more. PAL Kauai on the fourth Monday of every month between 4 and 6 p.m. Call in. Be a part of the show. Be a part of the solution.
And we are back on KKCR, Permanently Affordable Living Hawaii. We're speaking with Michaela Widener, who is a candidate for the office of mayor in the county of Kauai. We have just about 5 minutes left. If you can stay with us, Michaela.
So 2 quick questions. Marshall, go for it. The next one. Quick round.
Let's go to visitor impacts.
Yeah.
Just broadly, how will you manage visitor impacts? The quality of life for residents is directly impacted by the number of visitors here, the roads, the beaches. How can we make sure we're not overwhelmed while still allowing tourism to support local jobs?
So 1 minute to answer that one.
Education. The more education and the more we create things like the Hanalei Initiative and the Haena Initiative, the more we're going to be successful when it comes to tourists. Tourists need to understand how they're being a problem before we can solve it, and they just don't know yet. And then when it comes to traffic, something that we can implement right away is we can do block scheduling for schools and for businesses, and this is something that Los Angeles did in 1985 when they were having way too much traffic, and this is something that they played with on Oahu as well, and it's something that we can definitely utilize on Kauai.
Okay, thank you. And then last but not least, Jay, do you want to go for that one?
Yes. Final question is, if you win the mayoral race, is there a role for your opponents in your administration or vice versa?
I would definitely put Mel Raposo on my team.
Okay,
Well,
cool.
that was
And
a,
then
that,
I
go
could
ahead.
definitely see Laura Lindsay doing humanitarian work. She being the head of our humanitarian department, because human resources, because she is very passionate. It's something that she has a lot of experience with, and there are, these are incredible people that want to serve, and I will let them serve with me. And, they're very passionate about it, and they do have connections, and we can use those connections to our advantage. They'll be under my watch.
Okay, and in the last minutes, let's talk about the landfill. Kind of save the best for last here. We've talked about it a lot. We know there's a crisis. What is your plan for the next 1 or 2 years, and what's the long-term path forward?
The long-term path forward is circular economy and zero waste. The short term is getting those MRF facilities constructed and implemented. Like I said, small scale facilities are faster built and provide more jobs. So we can get smaller scale facilities going, and then we can create a path forward where we have the model and we just keep copying that model until we have it across the entire island. And then, like I said, composting, we need residential composting as well. That's just anything that we can do to get to a zero waste, and it is doable. There are other places in the world that have accomplished this, and if they can do it, we can do it.
Well, thank you again, Michaela Widener, for spending just about an entire hour with us on Permanently Affordable Living Hawaii. Thank you for being so generous with your time and with your thoughts. Thank you for the effort that goes into running for mayor here on Kauai. Your website, again, is Michaela for Kauai. That's spelled out F-O-R, or .com. And
And her
Leilani.
Facebook page as well.
The Facebook page. Do you want to say again, Michaela, how people
My Facebook page is Mayor Michaela Widener, and all of my contact information is going to be at the bottom of my website. You can also register to vote at the bottom of my website if you haven't yet registered. There is a registration button that will take you directly to the government link to get you registered to vote. And you have to do it before the 30th, so there's still time. If you haven't registered, please get registered. Use your voice. Use your power.
And show up at the Talking Trash Zoom, which is very easy. You can do it from your living room, but you do register for it, so go ahead and do that. And thank you so much, Michaela, for showing up and being flexible and generous with your time, and we really do appreciate your running, so thank you.
I'm so grateful to you guys and all of the absolutely wonderful questions that you asked today. You've given me a lot to think about, and I couldn't be more grateful. This is all just going to help us focus more on what really needs to be addressed. So mahalo nui loa to you.
Mahalo.
Thanks again. Aloha.
Alrighty. Aloha. And this is KKCR Honolulu, KAQA Kilauea, K224CQ Anahola, and K205 FM in Honolulu. We're broadcasting at 90.9 FM in Honolulu, 91.9 FM island-wide at 92.7 in Anahola and Moloa'a, and at 88.9 on Oahu. We're streaming worldwide at kkcr.org, and you can also listen to this stream and to the archives on our handy-dandy KKCR mobile app. And Permanently Affordable Living Hawaii is made possible by Horses Are Good Company, Halelehue Second Saturdays, and KauaiVotes.org.
Horses Are Good Company, a Southside boutique with a curated selection of local-style attire, vinyl records, and a variety of indoor-outdoor supplies. Horses Are Good Company on Papalina Road, across from the Kalaheo Inn. More information at 808-378-2116 or horsesaregood.com.
Halelihue presents the second Saturday's night market from 4 to 8 p.m. on Crest Street in Lihue. Kauai locals and Malihini can enjoy locally made crafts, food, and entertainment. DowntownLihue.com. Mahalo Halelihue for supporting this program with this underwriting message.
Mahalo for supporting
Support
Kauai
for this KKCR program comes from KauaiVotes.org. Plain language, neurodivergent friendly voter information for Kauai residents. Candidate profiles, election dates, and registration guidance for the 2026 primary and general election. KauaiVotes.org. Thank you, KauaiVotes.org and Fidelitas LLC for supporting civic engagement and Kauai Community Radio.
Mahalo for supporting Kauai Community Radio.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speaker and do not necessarily represent those of KKCR, its management, staff, or underwriters.
And we are back on Permanently Affordable Living Hawaii, and we have just been joined in the studio by our very special guest, Joanne Yukimura, former mayor and Kauai County Council member. And thank you for coming in. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about the roles of mayor and county council and what to look for in a candidate. So let me make sure that I've got all the mics up. We are in the studio with Leilani and Jade as well, myself, Paul Marshall, and Joanne. Welcome to the studio. Pull yourself right in there and pull the mic up to you so you're really close to it there. And then, yeah.
Okay.
Aloha. Oh, that sounds good. Good. Can you hear everything okay in your
yes,
headsets?
I can.
Okay. And then, Leilani, you still on here?
Hi, can you hear me?
I think that sounds good. You're number 4.
Good,
and Jade, we have you as well?
Aloha, everyone.
Okay, all righty. So we're all on.
Yay, okay. Welcome, Joanne, for showing up.
Thank
and
you.
the long drive to the jungle studio. Did you have any trouble finding it?
Not at all.
Perfect.
I've been here before.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
thanks.
Great. Well, as I mentioned to you before, it's a perfect time to really understand clearly what is the role of a county council, what's the purview of what their responsibility is, what does the mayor do, and because you've had the luxury, I guess we want to call it, no, the privilege, no, what do we call it, the duty, I don't know what we call it, something.
All of the above.
All of the above, to have served as a mayor, also during very difficult times, and also a county council. So if you can kind of share your background on how many years you did that, and kind of share that with us, and think of it as we're having a conversation in our living room, okay?
I love conversations, so thank you. Yeah, well, I first ran for council when I was 26 years old, and won by surprise that election, ran for 2 terms, and then decided I wanted to be in the mayor's office, so I ran when I was 30 for mayor, and then lost and ran again 2 years later because it was a 2-year term then. Lost. And then finally in 1988, the third time was the charm, and I won and became mayor. And I served until 1994, so 6 years, during which time Kauai was hit by Iniki, so it was trial by wind for me. And then it took me several years to go back to office, but in 2002, I think I went back into the council. So I served a total of 22 years on the council and 6 years as mayor. So I have been around.
You know the jobs, apparently.
Well, I'm older now.
Thank you so much for your years of service. And we just spent an hour speaking with a candidate for Mayor Michaela Widener. And so having not done the job, it's one thing to sort of think about what that job is and what skills a person can bring to it. But having done the job, what is involved in being mayor in the county of Kauai? And what skills does a person need, and should we be looking for in a candidate for mayor?
we have a strong mayor form of government, which means that it mimics the federal government a lot. The mayor is the chief executive officer. So they do the execution and the initiative, the leadership, the visioning. That's all very important because they're the steersman, that guides the community through the years that the mayor serves. The council is very important as well because they have to approve the budget and they pass the laws. And so it's the mayor's job to execute the laws and to implement the budget and the programs. And the other role of the council, which sometimes is not capitalized on, is the oversight or the check and balance on the mayor. And so the council can refuse to fund a program. It can also initiate a program, but when they add to the budget, if it's not in the mayor's budget, it takes 5 votes to add a program. But the mayor does implement the program. So the mayor has under him or her the police, the fire, Office of Elderly Affairs, housing, all the different departments that develop the programs. If it needs funding, proposes it to the council, gets the funding, and then implements the program. And for me, the role of the mayor that is really important is they have the power of initiative. And so, they could propose programs like I did. For example, we did not have public transportation when I became mayor. And seeing the need, we started to work and plan. But in order to actually implement it, we had to go to the council. And same thing for affordable housing projects. Because the mayor has the staff to do the research and develop the programming, that's where the initiative lies. And it can be a very creative process. The mayor, if he or she has the vision, can really look ahead and develop programs that the community needs. And he or she can't do it alone because the council has to fund the position.
And based on that, though, because you said pass the laws as far as council, but doesn't council also can come up with ideas and bills to push through? I mean, that would be a lot of the job, I would think, right?
It is a major part of the council's job to develop the legislation and to do it right, to regulate properly, to achieve your goals, say, of providing affordable housing or to allow worker housing in ag lands, or to set back development so that the shoreline setback is very important to protect private property, but also to allow access along the shoreline. All of those things have to be done really with a lot of care and understanding, because you can have all these unintended consequences. Exactly. Some of which can come back to, even interfere with your main goal. So when we did I initiated the first TVR bill and it was at the request of citizens like Karen Diamond and others. Citizens often lead the way. And it was the bill that banned any new transient vacation rentals outside of the visitor destination area. And I believe we were the first county to do that. that took, I think, about 3 years.
And I think a big part of it was the people involved in maintaining the green space, the open space, and the green space probably led to some of those decisions way back when that was going on.
You mean protection of ocean and coastal space?
And green space to avoid sprawl and to keep it focused on...
That is land use planning, and that is governed by our general plan and our CZO. And if it's not working, then we have to change the law to accomplish the main purpose.
So back to the specific role of the county council, for example, where do they play in the general plan, for example?
The administration will hire consultants to put the general plan, to develop the general plan, which was first done in 1970, and since then it's been general plan updates.
By the planning department specifically, right?
No, the administration, through the planning department, will develop the update, and that is then is presented to the planning commission, which works on it, can put things in, take things out, and then it goes for final approval to the council. So that's how the general plan gets adopted. And the general plan determines where hotels are built, where housing is built, or residential, commercial, those kinds of uses.
Right.
And then it's the CZO, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, that gets very specific about what can be done in different areas that are general planned.
And listeners, we are speaking with Joanne Yukimura, former mayor and county council member in the county of Kauai. And I want to thank you again for coming in and spending this time with us. Let's see, where do we want to turn? I want to go to, actually I had a follow-up question on that, on Mayor, Joanne, if you don't mind. Well, one, I want to give you another chance to help us understand when we are looking at candidates for mayor, right? What does that position take that we should be looking for in people right now?
That is a very key question, because the right to vote is a very precious right. There are many people around the world who don't have that right, and in fact, in the history of our country, there were many people who didn't have the right either.
True.
From women and black people, and even my parents, my dad, who were Japanese Americans during World War II, and they were declared enemy aliens, so they weren't allowed to vote. And when they came back after the war, having proven their loyalty, the right to vote was so important that the voter turnout in the years that I was growing up, the 50s and 60s, was in the 80s and 90s.
Percent.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now it's
low
less
40s.
than
less than 50%. But that's because people had seen their friends and colleagues die or get injured for this, to preserve this right to vote. And I think we need to remember that, because we should not take it for granted, and we need to, each of us, exercise our right to vote. But on the other side of it is that's the way we get to protect our community, by voting in the people who will do the job and not ignore what's happening, or
Right.
So a right, a privilege, a huge responsibility. And then if you're trying to, as a citizen, decide whom to vote for, I look for, first and foremost, honesty and integrity, so that, that people will follow their oath to the Constitution and do things that are for the community and not for selfish purposes or for in violation of laws. And then intelligence, the ability to, because especially now, problems are so complex, and you really need people who are able to embrace this complexity and not just talk about simple answers. And then I would say good at problem solving, because that is really their main job, to solve the problems that are affecting our people, whether it's not having a house to live in, so they have to move to the mainland, or whether it's pollution of our ocean and river waters because of cesspools, or it's because we're stuck in traffic and people can't get to the airport or to work. You know, these are really big problems. They cost money. They cost us money, and they affect our environment. So we need people who are really smart, who can, and who know how to solve problems, which includes listening to the community and getting input from all the stakeholders, including the people you're trying to regulate, you know, because often they are left out as the bad guys, but then your laws are don't work well in regulating
And we
them.
have so many different interests of people who all live on this island and want to be heard, want to have their needs met. So the listening part, but then that person who could discern the long-term effects and perhaps avoid these, because we've seen it happen. We've seen a law go into effect, and then the unintended consequences are there for us to live with, or to solve, or to do another bill to fix the one that didn't quite work the first time around.
Yes, and when you listen to a lot of people, you still have to make a decision that in terms of what is the best solution or the best way to solve the problem, and that could offend certain people, right? Or could affect special interests who are looking only at their interests, not at the community impact. So it's a rough road, and it requires somebody who's not just wanting to please people.
Right.
Because that doesn't work. So they have to have the courage to give and take and listen very carefully, but also to discern, as you said, what is the right solution for the community. And then commitment to the community. And I'm thinking of my friend and colleague Tim Bynum, who served on and who was responsible, along with Tommy Noyes and Doug Haig, for the Kealahele Makalai and for the roundabouts that we all see. That was one of Tim's. Anyway, he's not with us anymore, but his slogan was committed to community, community first. And that's really, really important, because you will see people or leaders acting, and I won't name any particular people, but acting in their own interests, not in the community's interest.
Well, thank you for saying that. It's important to say that here our intention of PAL is that, so many of our elected officials, the new ones and the ones that are there, do affect housing. We're very committed. I'm not necessarily a political person, but in this role, it's very tied to what our elected officials have to say. And we feel very passionate about having our people here on this island hearing the viewpoints, understanding what's going on. That's why we are, interviewing the mayors. We've interviewed all of the mayors, because without being educated about what each thing is, what good is the vote? You know. So that's really, and we also recognize, and it was mentioned, Michaela did mention it, and I usually mention it, that unfortunately, people don't always have the luxury to be off on a Wednesday afternoon or whenever it is that the county council meets. But if they can, that's great. But not everyone can. People are raising families, and on this island, it takes 2 or 3 jobs just to keep your head afloat. So that is really why we do this. People say, well, why are you talking about all this on the radio? But that is exactly why. And having someone like you who's seasoned and really can help us look to how to decide what we're looking for is a very big help. So we really appreciate you coming in and doing that for us.
It's hard work to be a citizen, you know?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and so things like this are really important. It really helps citizens learn about the candidates when you interview them and you ask them specific questions.
And we realized, too, is the fact that we were airing only 4 to 6 on fourth Monday of every month. But that's when we partner with Hoike. Thank you, Max. Because that way it's being shown on Hoike also, and you can find it when you want to, and also on YouTube. So really we want to just make it as clear as possible to deliver that information as needed. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yes. I also wanted for us to summarize some things for our listeners, because when people think of government, they think about it as one lump, and they're not able to differentiate what everyone does. So in terms of what can people hold the mayor accountable for, and what are things that they can hold the county council accountable, because I've seen people blaming the mayor for something a legislator is supposed to do, and I've seen people blaming a county council for something like the fire department. So there's a lot of confusion because people have so many challenges and they just see the government as one lump. So it's good to delineate all of these roles so that people know exactly who they're voting for and what this person is going to help them do in that office. So if you could just clarify it again so that we can have a foundation to continue other questions.
Well, your question is a good segue into
On the 29th, it's a Zoom call. Just register it, and it's being hosted by Zero Waste.
Yes.
So if you go to their website, you'll find that information.
And 6:30 to 8:30, I think.
Yes, I think that's it.
Yeah, and those kinds of forums, not only that one, but there's others around, will help you hear the candidates talk more specifically on various issues.
And the nonprofits are doing what I think is a good job, because some of these are hosted by different people with different interests, So Zero Waste, for example, is talking about the trash because specifically it affects what their purview is. Ours, we focus on housing, but when we interview, we kind of want the whole broad spectrum. And there are a lot of candidates. So that part alone is
very difficult.
Yes, it really is, to figure all that out for an individual. And I wanted to ask you, what about the representation? Because it's not specific. The candidate or the person who works in the county council, there's not an established from the west side, from the east side.
We elect our council members at large rather than by districts.
Right.
And I know there have been efforts to make it by districts, but I am very strongly against it because my experience is you separate the island and the decision-making body, because now they're only obligated to one section of the island. And and so somebody on the west side can say, do something for me, but the council members are mainly concerned about being reelected in their district.
Right.
And sometimes when you have districts, another council member might want to go to that district and learn about it and talk to people. And there could be this kind of, that's my district, you shouldn't come in with, Plus, I saw at the legislature when boating in Hanalei River was a big issue, commercial boating.
Right.
There was at one point 47 boats going in and out of that river, telling kids to get out of the way while they were swimming. It was a big issue.
Right.
But a legislator from Kauai asked another legislator from a non-Kauai district to introduce a bill so that she wouldn't be associated with this bill that was a voter's bill, and so there's this kind of subterfuge that goes on that kind of hides what's actually happening. So it's better when you're anybody on the island can come to a council member and say, I voted for you, or I'm not going to vote for you.
And this is KKCR Hanalei KAQA Kilauea. We're speaking with Joanne Yukimura, and we'll be right back.
Oh, you thought that was on Kaua? No, it was me. Holy moly. I'm on Albatross. We stay native Hawaiian seabirds raising our babies on Kauai, and now they're getting kind of big. Pretty soon, they're going to jump off the cliff and fly for the first time. Then we're going to miss them because they're not going to come back for 5 years. No way. Mahalo plenty, Kauai, for one safe place for raise our keiki. This message from the Friends of Kauai Wildlife Refuges online at kauairefuges.org.
It's hard to do that.
Funding for this message is provided by the Kauai Albatross Network.
We are back on KKCR on Permanently Affordable Living Hawaii. We are blessed to be joined by Joanne Yukimura in the studio today. And Joanne, we have a caller who'd like to ask you a question. Sure. Caller, can you hear us okay? Aloha, caller. Oh, let's see. Push that button. Aloha, caller, you're on the air.
Right on. Aloha. And mahalo, Joanne, for joining the PAL Hawaii show at KKCR. I got a question regarding the question about districting and wondering if you're open to the idea of hybridizing that situation where you would have at-large members and just districting for 3 members, and the 3 members would be just how we district for our state representatives, and they would be 2-year terms, and the at-large seats would be 4-year terms. They would be representing the whole, if you will, island as you were just discussing. And also to tie that into the change or the migration to not a strong mayor format, but a county manager format in regards to looking at things differently from the change over a period of time. The current setup seems to be kind of a relic from plantation days and supports the status quo, and I wonder a change in structure might give us a change of perspective and a change of direction as well. Just your thoughts on that, Joanne. Thanks again for being there and talking about Wednesday's curbside recycling resolution as well.
Oh, thank you. Those were a lot of questions. Let me start with the question about your last question. Somebody help me. What was that?
Okay, and he hung up to take the answer off the air as well.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Yeah.
About the at-large, it was a packed question. A lot of questions, but at-large districts being represented, but then also some at-large that have a longer term is what he proposed. And also asked about the idea of not having a mayor.
Oh, that's right. That was the city manager alternative.
Yes.
The council spent, when I was on the council, a long time studying that issue. And the way it would work is the mayor would be on the council would select the managing director, and the managing director would head all of the departments and run the departments. And it works well on the mainland where the managing directors are highly trained professionals. But I have to say, I was on the inner circle when I saw how the county chose the auditor. And there was so much politics that I thought, oh man, if you apply it to the city manager position, I would be very worried. And so it kind of goes back to how can you get really good quality people in the elected positions so that you can trust because you're giving the council an incredible responsibility for choosing the head of the county, basically. And I just saw too much politics at play in the selection that makes me worried about the council making the selection. So that's my reservation about that system. As far as the hybrid system, I would need to know more information. Why does the at-large people have 4 years and the district people have 2 years? I actually am in favor of a 4-year term for council members. But I would like it to be a full-time council because there is so much work to do. And if you also want to touch bases with your constituents. You have to research whether it's curbside recycling and a MRF or pore over all these studies. It takes a lot of time. That's just my predilection.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I heard, and I may be wrong, but about council members not having outside work and a full-time job, plus be a county council member.
You know, we actually had a caller question just before the previous one that went directly to this. There was a caller who wanted to ask you about the hours for a council member and for mayor. So the same question for a council person and for a mayor. Is it a full-time position, and what's the expected workload?
I was always a full-time council member, and I never had enough time to do all the work. So, you know, I mean, there's a multi-million-dollar budget that you have to go over, and you can, if you just go in every Wednesday at the council meeting, like some council members did, how can your decisions be wise and good if you don't know all the background that you need to know to make a wise decision?
Right.
So I prefer, and I prefer that, and there's no conflict of loyalties or interest. And there's more ways to give donations. I mean, if you're in a business, somebody can really buy a lot from your business if they want you to vote some way, you know, so it opens up more possibilities of undue influence.
Bias, yeah. And I thought it came up at one point where it was being looked at that it should be a full-time job and not have an outside job as well.
I think the issue has come up, you know, here and there, but I haven't seen any concrete proposals. I was actually thinking of a salary differential for people who have other jobs and aren't putting in full time. They would get less of a salary than, you know, a full-time member. Seemed to be equitable that way.
I think so.
But it's something we should have really intensive discussions on.
It's like what people say, that they sit on a board, and I say, I don't want somebody to sit on the board. I want someone active on the board, because just attending meetings every week is not enough at all.
And especially when you're voting on things that have such far-reaching impacts, you really need to do your homework. Yeah.
And I wonder also about why it never came to be of staggering the role, staggered
terms.
Yes, because it takes time, and you know, when you were the brand new council member, didn't it take time to learn the job? And you would look to someone who'd been there a longer time as a mentor. I would think that that's absolutely critical. Instead of, you can't just walk into the job and say, okay, let's go, without any seasoning.
I think there could be a lot more attention to training, whether it's staggered terms or the whole council. And the example is KIUC, where the board is required to actually take courses that are offered at the national level, because there are cooperatives around the country, and they have a really good national organization, and they have conventions where they have different workshops on different things like finances for a utility or employer-employee relationships or community outreach. And they're required to accumulate certain amount of and now you can do online training too, but accumulate certain amount of credits so that they have background to make the decisions that they make. And that's something we should really do. When I first came in, bless his heart, Phil Takbian used to run these parliamentary procedure. I mean, even something as fundamental as that, many people don't know.
Right.
And you really, you can do a lot, accomplish a lot or not, depending on your knowledge of that. So, yeah, we need to do that. And actually, at one point in the council, we had members take the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is personal development and leadership.
Right.
You know.
Right. I agree with that. And just I have a nonprofit background, and your board is only as good as the individuals and how trained they are. And so I've leaned towards training board, because if you know, Robert's rules, the most basic sometimes things to understand the structure. And yes, it is bureaucratic in nature, but that's pretty much the way it works.
Well, it enables meetings to function well.
Correct.
You know.
Correct.
So, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot that could be done. And professionalizing the county, beginning with the elected leaders, is a really good thing to do.
Yes.
You know, because I think that will affect the quality of service. And
you were speaking extensively earlier about the qualities needed in a mayor, and there was one more that I wanted to ask you about. And because as we look at candidates now, you know, some are really strong in their inspiration, you know, truly inspired to do good things, and full of bright ideas, and passionate, right? You know, it's really touching to see people that are willing to go to such lengths, put themselves out because they feel so strongly about something, right? And then we have some candidates that are stronger in experience. You know, they have served as, you know, for example, the head of civil defense, you know, or a long time in the mayor's administration. So how should we be looking at that? You know, because it's like you said before, the incumbents, I think it's proper of us to ask them about what they have done in their time in office, you know, and talk about where things stand and how things have progressed. And you know, everything's difficult, right? So, and everything takes time. But do we kick the bums out for the people with no experience because they're inspired, or do we choose the people that are very experienced, even though they're already in the system that's part of the problem?
I think you look closely at their commitment to the community and their ability to solve problems, basically. So the people who have been in office, have they been solving problems? You know, which problem have they contributed to, and you know, ask them for examples. And in terms of people who are very inspiring, I mean, even if people haven't been in office, you can look at what they've done as a citizen, and you will find that people who are really committed about community, they're out there, you know, whether it's
already
affordable
serving.
Housing, right.
Yeah.
There's many more ways to serve than in just elected office. And that should, I hope the candidates understand that even if they don't make it, there's so many ways they can contribute their passion and their skills and learn, and maybe the next time around get elected, you know. But it's sort of like paying your dues. I mean, if you are just not involved at all, and then all of a sudden you say, I want to be the champion for the community, you know, it's like, okay, but what have you been doing, or how familiar are you with the problems? Yeah.
True, because I was at one forum and it came up with experience, but a person who's running for the first time for county council, that's the first venue into being a public, you know, servant. And how can they be expected to have experience? However, those candidates should all be attending the meetings, I would think, and see what's going on and make it their business to learn about various topics. And I've heard a lot of the candidates, and some are saying things that are not even true information, just because they maybe didn't know who to ask, or didn't know what, or didn't know to say, I don't know, but I'll find out.
Yes.
So there's some of that going on as well.
Yes. And asking the questions and listening to their answers will tell you, you know, tell you that.
Because
I don't know,
no candidate will know everything about everything. It's not possible.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, and no, you can't have experience in elected office without being in elected
Correct,
office.
correct.
So,
Indeed.
so you want to give inexperienced people a chance, but they should be able to show in their lives how they've been expressing their concern and working on community issues.
True. Agreed.
And listeners, stay tuned. At the top of the hour, we're going to have a world of jazz, and let's hear about 5 seconds on that.
Jazz. Delicious hot, disgusting cold, but always cool with Richard.
All right. Stay tuned for a world of jazz with Richard on KKCR, Honolulu, KAQA Kilauea. And we are in the studio on Permanently Affordable Living Hawaii with our special guest, Joanne Yukimura. And where shall we turn the conversation now to the duties of or Joanne, go ahead.
Can I just do a little plug for a very important issue coming up before the council?
Please, you can plug anything you want. We got
just no individual candidates, that's all.
Yes, no individual candidates. There's a resolution before the county council introduced by Chair Raposo and Councilmember Holland, and it's asking the administration to prioritize diversion, curbside recycling, and a third smaller trash can, so that people can save money if they don't create a lot of trash. So anyway, I hope people will come out and testify in favor of it. It's so important. Our diversion rate hasn't increased at all. Curbside recycling, at minimum, will increase our diversion rate by 2%. Even though that doesn't seem like a lot, that's a lot.
Where and when is that?
8:30 before the county council. If you want to speak right away and can't stay to wait for the resolution.
Okay, and what day of the weekend?
This Wednesday, so in 2 days.
Okay, 8:30 Wednesday at the county council.
Yes.
The older building, right? The county
yes,
building.
the historic county building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good announcement.
Yeah. And those are the issues among the issues.
Right. And the big point, Jade, you mentioned about accountability, about what have you done. That's a big piece.
Yes.
Yeah, it really
it
is.
is. Yeah.
I also want to make an announcement. Surfrider and Hoike, Kauai, and Climate Action Coalition is showing a film on July 30th at 5 p.m. at the Philippine Cultural Center. It's called Earth's Greatest Enemy, and it talks about some of the RIMPAC and some of the effects of military presence on the island. And I know it was a hot topic, and we were actually trying to have a radio show about the military leases, which are up in 2029. It's a pretty big topic. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go to the Surfrider website. We'll post one of these also on the PAL website, but it's July 30th at 5 p.m., and it's a film that is being shown and available, open for everyone to attend.
I think one other thing that I wanted to add to the conversation for the benefit of our listeners is several people are facing all the challenges that we're talking about, and sometimes they get so disheartened. You're talking about all these challenges, but no one has registered to vote. So, or they feel like their vote doesn't matter. What would you say to discourage that political empathy of people getting so discouraged or disillusioned with, it's the same old people, the government doesn't work, it doesn't matter what anybody does, whoever is going to be there is going to be there, they don't benefit me. And it sounds funny, but it's not funny when people are discouraged, especially young people are so discouraged with how the government works and what the future holds for them on Kauai. We have people straight out of high school that are eligible to vote, and how do we reach the younger generation to say your voice matters? There's a place for you here. You are welcome home, and your future matters to us.
Well, thanks for the question. To say my vote doesn't count is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't vote, you won't be counted, and
you don't get a chance to grumble either. If you don't vote, you don't have the right to grumble.
Yeah, the main thing is that you're losing the possibility of change because you're holding back yourself. I mean, so it takes a certain amount of faith and a certain amount of honesty that just our vote isn't going to change everything, but our vote together with other votes, that's how it happens. We are all interconnected and we have to work together. And when you look at in our history where the change has come, it hasn't been easy, just because a handful of people decide they're going to vote. The change, it's hard work. It really is hard work. But it's worth it. I mean, just think about the women who enabled the women's vote to happen, right? Susan B. Anthony, one of the leaders.
Suffragettes.
Yeah. She died before women got the right to vote. She spent her whole life working on it and didn't live to see the day. But it happened, and because of that, look at all the wonderful energy, insight that has been registered through women, right? And then you have the fact that people like Patsy Mink, who was an Asian American who wasn't accepted in medical school because she was Asian American, but went on to law school and then came back and practiced and ran and became the first, I think, Japanese American congresswoman. She passed Title IX, which then opened up this whole world of sports for women. You just see what happens when people are clear about what the change that needs to happen and work on it. But I can tell you personally, I mean, I started the first composting and recycling pilot projects just on a small trial basis when I was mayor, and we still don't have the curbside recycling. But I know it's going to happen, and I hope it happens soon. For our island's sake, though, because it's 36% of what's going into the landfill.
I know, it's too bad it didn't happen years and years and years ago, but that's...
Yeah, but we have to just keep working at it because it's the right thing for our island.
Well, look at how long Prince Kuhio stuck in there, and if it weren't for his determination and commitment and just keep going, look where we'd be without that. That would be horrible. I wanted to ask you your comments about the fact that it's an interesting time now because people have left county council to run for mayor, so all of a sudden there's more seats available. Can you kind of give a little broad summary on people who are not necessarily in the know about why this is a really good time for new people? Because we hear all the time, it's the same old, why should I vote? But isn't this a very unique time?
Yes,
and if you could kind of give an overview about how that plays out. Who stays, incumbents, and the 7 seats.
Well, incumbents usually have the momentum,
right?
Because they are known, their name is known, and they have a record, and they have supporters and a campaign machine.
And one more year to stay. And one more, they're not timed out, so they have another year that they could...
Or two.
Two, right.
2 years, yeah. But that doesn't mean that a newcomer couldn't get in. And the chances increase for a newcomer when there's vacancies, right?
So there's 4 vacancies currently, right?
Right, right. So I think that's why there's so many people running, because they think there's a better chance. Although with so many people running, that starts to reduce the chances. But it is a much more open possibility because people tend to vote for the incumbents. So if the 7 incumbents are running, then there's very little likelihood. Maybe the seventh position might be a competitive one, but it's really hard to get votes enough to dislodge, in people who already have a momentum because of their name recognition and experience.
So that's why it becomes really important for the ones that are incumbents. What have you done? What's your track record? What have you done while you were in your role?
That's absolutely right. And I don't see that question being asked enough. Mm-hmm. But also you have to know enough of the issue to know whether their answer is a solid answer or not.
That's true too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's not easy. Oh, I should say, one other way, if you haven't had the time to do all this work yourself, is to talk to somebody, a friend or someone who shares your values and who does their homework and research. I've seen that happen, and it's not 100% reliable way to express your decisions, but it helps because it's really bad to just vote for people without knowing.
Right.
That,
or because they're fun, or they're funny, or they're your friend,
or they're nice. Yes.
Or a friend of your friend, and are not good reasons to vote for someone.
No, it isn't, because it's nice to have nice people, but they don't necessarily solve the problems that we need solutions for.
Right. Exactly.
Listen. We have some information to bring the listeners about the weather. We are starting to have some effects from Hurricane Fausto, and so we just have a few minutes left to the hour, but if we could say our thanks and wrap up our discussion, and we'll leave a couple minutes for that. Listeners, stay tuned. There are some announcements from the county on monitoring Hurricane Fausto and hurricane preparedness. There's also I'll get to all the details in a second, but for right now, I want to thank you again for being here, Joanne Yukimura, and spending this time talking to us about the positions of mayor and county council as we look at the elections. And people should have their ballots. You were saying it's not too late to register if you have not gotten your ballot, but
register by the 30th.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And we just want to thank our guests in the studio, and thank you, Michaela. Thank you, Max. Thank you, KKCR, for having us, and to our listener and callers. And this is PAL Kauai, Permanently Affordable Living Hawaii. It's housing and so much more. This has been the PAL Radio Show on KKCR. Aloha and ahui ho.
Okay, aloha. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Aloha. And I'll just pick it up with that information from the county. The County of Kauai officials are monitoring Hurricane Fausto, the first hurricane of the 2026 Eastern Pacific hurricane season, and are reminding residents and visitors that August and September are historically the peak months of hurricane season in the Central Pacific. According to the National Weather Service, Hurricane Fausto is expected to pass north of the Hawaiian Islands as a tropical storm Tuesday through Wednesday. While the current forecast keeps the storm's center away from Kauai, officials are closely monitoring its track, as even slight shifts could result in increased impacts for the island. Kauai residents can expect breezy trade winds, periods of showers, rough surf along east-facing shores, and the potential for stronger winds and heavy rainfall as the system passes. A high surf warning remains in effect for east-facing shores through Wednesday, with strong breaking waves and currents. Residents and visitors are encouraged to stay informed, monitor the latest forecasts, and use this opportunity to review emergency plans and gather essential supplies before the peak of hurricane season. Now let's go to the updated forecast. As of 5:14 p.m., we have a tropical storm warning. We have a tropical storm warning for the Hawaii offshore waters as of 5:14 p.m. today. Tonight, tropical storm conditions are expected for Hawaiian offshore waters, and that's beyond 40 nautical miles out to 240 nautical miles, including the portion of the Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument east of French Frigid Shoals. We want to also include a high surf warning for east-facing shores through Wednesday afternoon. A east swell from Hurricane Fausto will continue to build tonight and peak Tuesday above high surf warning levels. The swell will decline on Wednesday as the system passes to the northwest. The high surf warning remains in effect until 6 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time Wednesday. And finally, there is a small craft advisory in effect until 6 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time Wednesday, with seas up to 13 feet for Kauai Northwest waters, Kauai Windward waters, Oahu Windward waters, Kaiwi Channel, Maui County Windward waters, and Big Island Windward waters. And again, that is a small craft advisory with hazardous conditions for small craft. And that brings us up to date on the weather information from the County of Kauai. Again, this has been Permanently Affordable Living on KKCR, and we thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you.